Hari Om, good evening to everybody. On this wonderful journey of ours, today we are going to see the topic of Pañca-Kośa-Viveka. And let us begin this session with our prayers.
Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvi Navadhitamastuma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om. Pañca-Kośa-Viveka continues.
Our great seer scientists, our rishis, had studied the human beings and made a thorough scientific study. And they told us that the human body is made up of 5 koshas, pañca-kosha. We've already seen this before. Let us quickly revise them. The first is the food sheath or the annamaya kosha. That sheath which is connected to the body, our periphery, which cannot go beyond that, our physical limitations, is the annamaya kosha or the food sheath. What does it consist of? It also has the 5 jnanendriyas and the 5 karmendriyas. The next one is the prāṇamaya kosha. The prāṇamaya kosha or the vital air sheath. What does this consist of? We have seen that all the biological functions of our body are controlled by the various prānas. The prānas being
Pran, Apan, Saman, Udyan and Udan.
We have seen this. The third is the mental sheath or the manomaya kosha. Especially about the mind, we have been studying for quite some time now, because mind is the most important object in our whole entire body. It controls almost every aspect of everything that we do in our lives. This manomaya kosha, we know the mind is a continuous flow of thoughts. When these thoughts get arrested and become decisive, that time the same composition which has made the mind turns into the intellect, and this kosha is known as the intellectual sheath or vijñānamaya kosha. We have seen all of these things before. Finally, we come to the bliss sheath or the ānandamaya kosha. Let us read further and find out what exactly this is. The bliss sheath is the innermost of the 5 sheaths, consisting of vasanas. It is made up of ignorance in which we exist during our deep sleep state of consciousness. It is considered blissful because whatever be the condition in which the individuals are in their waking and dream states, once they reach the halls of sleep, be they rich or poor, successful or disappointed, healthy or sick, young or old, all of them experience relatively the same undisturbed peace and bliss due to the cessations of agitation experienced by them in the other 2 states of consciousness. The bliss sheath controls the intellectual sheath, since the intellect functions under the control and guidance of one's vasanas. How many things are now getting connected as we see that those inert and inherent abilities have come are called vasanas. Vasanas in Sanskrit means fragrance. Exceedingly subtle, or the subtlest amongst all the 5 sheaths is the sheath of bliss or ānandamaya kosha, made up of vasanas. These vasanas in turn are in control of the intellectual sheath or vijñānamaya kosha. And that we know in turn is in control of manomaya kosha. Mana in turn controls our other bodily functions. The pranas also get affected when the mind goes into a shock. And similarly, all of our bodily functions, everything that is connected to the body, is directly affected by the mind. There is something further that I want to share with you today. Excuse me. You have seen that when we say our prayers, you must have noticed, especially when we say Om Shanti Shanti Shanti, we say Shanti 3 times. What is the need of saying it 3 times? Okay, we all understand that it means peace. But peace for what? So this Shanti is connected to the 3 realms that we are in connect with directly. Let me explain further. All of our lives are influenced by our 3 surroundings. Which are they? Our immediate surroundings, which is called the Bhautik, Adi Bhautika. That is the correct word for it. That means Jagdish sitting next to me, these lights over here, the things which are surrounding me, the traffic on the road over here, the mosquito which is buzzing around me over here, all of this comes in the realm of Adi Bhautik. So that there is no obstacle and there is peace in my immediate vicinity, one Shanti is for that. The second Shanti is for the Daivik. Daivik means cosmic. That is absolutely not in my control. If there is a sudden earthquake, sudden flood, too much rain, too much famine, lightning, and all of these kind of things which we cannot control. So we ask for peace to be in that realm also. And finally, the third Shanti is for that realm which is within us, which is called Adhyatmik. All of that, when our mind disturbs us, when some other circumstances have caused disturbances, my body is paining, that which comes from inside. Now, I will tell you something very important, which our Guruji explained to us just today, in fact. All of these 3, whether it is cosmic, whether it is bhautik, that is Daivik, the bhautik which is around us, and Adhyatmik, which comes from within us. What really gets troubled or which gets upset is always our mind. It does not matter from which realm it comes, the part that gets affected due to any changes or disturbances is the mind. And that is why so much of importance is given to understanding the mind and our intellect. The most important aspect in all of our lives to control is our own minds, to lift it higher, to make it better, to make it calm. So let us continue with the Bliss Kosha, which we just read. That why it is called the Bliss Kosha? Because it falls in the realm of complete ignorance. When you are in that state of consciousness where you are fast asleep, it is called the deep sleep state, whereby you don't even know where you are, what you are doing, who you are, and the rich and the poor, this or that person, whether he's a European, whether he's an American, or whether he's an Indian, or whoever, whatever state he is in, nothing at that time is known. So, in a sense, you are in complete happiness. Happiness of ignorance. Here comes that saying that ignorance is bliss. So this is that ānandamaya kosha which is full of ignorance.
And not to be misunderstood by the Sat Chit Ananda, which is the bliss of the ultimate.
Knowledge.
That is not this.
Yes. So that is most important. We will be touching upon that also very soon. But many of you may have heard about this Sat Chit Ananda. So that Ananda, which is of supreme consciousness, which is of highest knowledge, should not be confused or misunderstood by this Anandamaya Kosha. Here we are talking about limitations of the human body, and thus this bliss is the bliss of ignorance. We've already seen that this bliss kosha, or Anandamaya kosha, is made up of vasanas. The synonyms for the bliss sheath are vasanas, avidya, ignorance of the self, non-apprehension of reality, the causal body, and the state of deep sleep. In the textbook of Vedanta, these terms are so frequently used that knowledge of them becomes essential for our study. Although these are in their essence the same, each one is used to indicate a particular aspect of the same thing in a particular context. All of this will become clearer as you go, but just try to remember that the bliss sheath is also known as vasanas, is also known as avidya, is also known as ignorance of the self or non-apprehension of the reality, the causal body or the state of deep sleep. The subtlest of all is the Atman, which is the core of the 5 sheath structure.
I think we missed out this part. In the textbook of Vedanta, these terms are frequently used.
Okay, I'll repeat this again.
Yeah.
In the textbook of Vedanta, these terms are so frequently used that knowledge of them becomes essential for our study. Although these are in their essence the same, each one is used to indicate a particular aspect of the same thing in a particular context. Okay, I've repeated this.
Sorry.
The subtlest of all is the Atman, which is the core of the 5 sheath structure. We have already seen that Atman is that divine consciousness within us which gives life to the body. And the 5 sheaths are covering this particular Atman. Earlier on, I will connect it to the incrustations also that we have seen. The 5 sheaths are like the layers of clothes worn by a person, which is totally different from the wearer. So too, the Atman is distinct and separate from the 5 matter layers. One of the simplest examples to understand, the sheaths are just like the clothes which you can remove, while your body is that Atman, which is over there constant, never changing. The vital air sheath is said to be within the food sheath and the mental sheath within the vital air sheath and so on, and the Atman is the innermost. This may give us an idea that the Atman is something very minute located inside the matter layers, which is contrary to the declarations of the Upanishads that it is all pervading. The term within has therefore to be understood in the philosophical context in which it is used. When a sheath is said to be interior to another, it only indicates that the inner one is subtler than the outer. The subtler controls, regulates, feeds, and nourishes the grosser. Hence, the Atman, which is the subtlest, is the controller and nourisher of all of the 5 layers. These topics are very, very important because they will come regularly during our study of this book, during our reading, and even further connections will also arise. So understand this very clearly. We have seen about the 5 koshas or the 5 layers which are enveloping or surrounding completely the Atman. So don't mistake Atman for being something very small and which is getting covered by one layer. No, that is not what it means. That is just for our understanding. What it exactly means is that Atman is the subtlest among them all, which actually controls all of the gross or the bodily functions that we have. So that Atman is the one which actually pervades or is in and through everything. So if you have now noticed that the sheaths which have been mentioned, or the 5 koshas which have been mentioned, go from the gross to the subtle.
And the subtlest.
Once again, the physical or the body, annamaya kosha, the heaviest, the grossest. Then the prana, the breath, which is affecting the biological functions, is the second. These two together, the annamaya kosha and the prāṇamaya kosha, are also known as the gross body or the sthula sharira. All of these are also divided in a different manner as if there were 3 bodies: the sthula sharira, the sukshma sharira, and a karan sharira. So all of these that we have spoken about earlier, the 5 sheaths and the Atman, all of this also will come under the 3 types of sharira. Let us see how. Like I've just explained, the gross, the annamaya and the prāṇamaya come under sthula sharira. The next 2, which are more subtle and subtler, are the manomaya kosha and the vijñānamaya kosha. These 2 together form the sukshma sharira. So sthula we have seen, now the sukshma you have seen, and the final, the bliss kosh or the ānandamaya kosh made of vasana, is known as the karana sharira or the causal body. Why causal body? Because it is the cause. Remember the inherent tendencies due to which the formation of every human personality is actually made. So the karan for all of this other koshas is the karan or the causal body, or what is known as the bliss sheath, the ānandamaya kosha. I hope it is now very clear to you. And whether it is these 3 shariras or these 5 sheaths which are there, both or all of it, it is the same, is controlled or is there because of the Atman.
The enliver. So you can now
the consciousness or the Atman. Now you can see the diagram which is there, which is also there at the beginning of this particular chapter. Now it will make sense to you. Kindly refer to it. The Om, which is there right on top, now is the Atma. We have seen Atman is also known by many various names, one of them being Om, consciousness, God, or Atman. And then we have seen that it is there, but it is separate from the others. It is not connected directly to any of our gross body or our physical body. But the sheaths are one below the other, from the grosser, the food sheath, vital air sheath, the mental sheath, the intellectual sheath, and the bliss sheath. And on the side of the diagram also you will see the gross body made up of the grossest of the 2 sheaths, then the subtle body made of the other 2 subtler elements, and the causal body or the karana sharira made up of the vasanas. The microcosm and microcosm, we will do it later. We will come back to it once we have studied. So let's go back to our book and to the bliss sheath. Excuse me, I'm trying to find it.
Yeah. Again, the subtlest.
Yes. So very clearly, the Atman is the subtlest, which is the controller and nourisher of all the 5 layers. Again, subtlety in philosophy is measured by pervasiveness. Beautiful example given to understand what exactly subtleness means. When a piece of ice melts, the water so formed occupies a larger area, and hence we would in philosophy say that the water is subtler than the ice. Also, when the water is boiled, the steam generated spreads itself in the entire atmosphere of the room. Steam is therefore considered subtler than water. So that which pervades more and more is called or known as the subtler part, especially in the study that we are doing. So amongst our sheath also, Atman, it pervades through and through everything.
In and through everything.
So it is in fact not that minute, but it is the all-pervasive, all-surrounding largeness which is in us, within us, and surrounds us. Similarly, the food sheath or the physical body is the grossest, and it cannot expand more than perhaps a couple of inches around the waistline after a heavy meal. The vital air sheath consisting of the 5 pranas is more pervasive than the food sheath, since the perceptions go beyond the physical boundaries of the physical body. The mind is the subtler still, since it travels to the realms known only, which are beyond the area of perceptions and other physiological functions. The intellect has the capacity to travel even beyond the realms known and penetrate realms unknown, is obviously subtler than the mind. The vasanas or the bliss sheath is the subtlest of the 5 layers, since it pervades all the above 4 layers and also independently in the state of deep sleep where none of the other layers has access. The 5 sheaths have no separate existence as such. They are analyzed only for our studies. The food and the vital sheaths together are called the gross body or the sthula sharira. The mental and the intellectual sheaths together form the subtle body or sukshma sharira. The bliss sheath is termed the causal body or the karana sharira. The human structure can therefore be said to comprise the gross, subtle, and the causal bodies, or the 5 sheaths enveloping the consciousness or the life principle. I'm sure it is exceedingly clear to all of you. When the consciousness, the self within, identifies with the gross body, it expresses itself as the waker who enjoys the waking world and its experiences. The same self, withdrawing from the gross body and identifying with the subtle body, manifests itself as the dreamer, experiencing the dream world. Similarly, withdrawing from the gross and subtle bodies and identifying with the causal body, it functions as the deep sleeper who goes through a homogeneous experience of nothingness. This phenomena is like an individual being called the father of his children, the officer in his office, and the tennis player on the tennis court. Though in fact, these are only different names given to one and the same person, without whom none of these manifestations are possible. So too, our real nature is the pure consciousness which transcends the 3 states of waking, dream, and deep sleep. It is because of the identification of the self with the matter layers that the sorrows penetrating to the latter are superimposed on it. Let us understand a little bit again over here. Now the body, the person is one, the same. But the person experiences 3 different states. One is when he's awake, like we all are now, hopefully. So we are awake in this state, and that person who's awake is called as the waker. When we go to sleep, That time our body is at stillness, but our mind and intellect are also still functioning. And in that state, we can see our dreams. And thus, the person seeing the dreams in that state, when he's not conscious of his gross body, but conscious of his subtle body, is called the dreamer. So now we have the waker and we have the dreamer. But there are moments when the same dreamer goes into absolute deep sleep, whereby he is conscious of nothing. We know that sleep of ignorance, that whereby he does not know anything about himself or the world around him, that state of deep sleep. So the same person that time is known as the deep sleeper, and he's connected with that sheath of bliss, or which is known as ānandamaya kosha. Yes. So over there it is said, who goes through a homogeneous experience of nothingness. That time he doesn't have all the experiences of being awake. He does not even have the experiences of a dream. He has an experience of nothingness. So this phenomena is, we have seen, so the same person is identified as the waker, the dreamer, and the deep sleeper. But all of these three states, or all of the bodies, or all of these sheaths are there only and only because of the pure consciousness which transcends all the three states. And only when we identify with any of these particular states that we come across the sorrow which is caused because of our conditions or because of ignorance, because of not knowing our real nature. Let us try and understand this further. Gurudev has given a beautiful example for us to study. Consider, for example, a tin containing an assortment of chocolates of different types, shapes, colors, preserved in wrappers. A child, in its ignorance, chews the chocolate along with the silver paper wrapping. No doubt it enjoys the sweetness, but the enjoyment is intercepted by the bitterness of the silver paper. So too, the Atman is the bliss absolute, existing within the 5 layers of the matter, but labeled as Brahmin, non-Brahmin, Indian, European, etc. in the world. The world is the tin. We, the children of ignorance, try to enjoy bliss along with the matter layers. Flickers of joy are no doubt experienced, but they are followed by sorrow and bitterness. To experience the absolute bliss, therefore, we have to analyze and discard the 5 layers of matter and apprehend the self as different from the waker, dreamer, and deep sleeper. This discrimination of the 5 superimposed layers of personality and recognition of one's own pure self is termed as the Pañca-Kośa-Viveka. So, the bliss that is of the ānandamaya kosha is of ignorance, which causes us sorrow. But to understand our true identity, to understand that Om of the diagram, who we actually are, we have to go beyond these 5 layers or these 3 shariras and be connected to that supreme bliss. And this particular discrimination of the 5 superimposed layers of personality and recognition are called as the Pañca-Kośa-Viveka. Viveka means that ability to be able to discriminate between that which is giving you sorrow and that which is really of the nature of pure happiness or supreme bliss. So, the term Pañca-Kośa-Viveka. The 5 koshas can be classified under 3 categories as gross, subtle, and causal bodies, which are the 3 vehicles in and through which the self functions. The world of objects, beings, and happenings around man is not under his control. Disagreeable and painful events are bound to reach him time and again. But man alone has the capacity to control and regulate his reactions to such events and avoid getting adversely affected by them. In order to intelligently respond to them and gain happy experiences, he should know the equipment with which he has to face the incessant challenges of the world. Hence, analysis and study of the koshas becomes essential for intelligent living. This last paragraph I would like all of you to read again at home, to think about it, that what is the reason that we are ultimately studying all of this. It is for us to be able to intelligently face life, live a more better and intelligent living, and be away from the sorrows of everyday life. So today we will end our session over here.
We have a session tomorrow.
And we have a question answer session tomorrow. The details of where to connect will be sent to you. And I hope you all join in. I'm sure you will be having certain curiosities. Kindly remember the question should be pertaining to our Kindle life.
Yes.
So let us end this wonderful
Beautiful
session
Lovely.
with prayers.
Thank you, Bhagwan. Om Asito ma Satgamaya Tamaso ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityormamrutam Gamaya. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.